examples. I run branches in various parts of the country.
The aggressor energy, that also is a negative thing.
Actual entrepreneurs, so that you can hear first
with us, or with me rather, that this part of
service then beyond the 8 to 5, and we introduce.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And we've got some good news for you early comers. The early bird catches the worm, they say. You guys for coming early, $100. For coming early and showing passion for entrepreneurship, to come and learn and share with us, you're getting $100.
Wow.
Zimbabwean dollar, eh? Taking time to come and join us here today for our very, very first inaugural Fireside chat. And our guest CEO for this month is Mr. Paul Kalumba. And our monthly hostess is Miss Chitupa Mungomba of African Leadership Legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, another warm welcome to those of you who just joined us. I'm your Master of Ceremonies this evening. My name is Paken Makawane. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kalumba. We'd like to thank you very much for joining us today. This is our inaugural Fireside chat, where we'll be bringing CEOs, leaders of industry, to come and share with you aspiring entrepreneurs, actual entrepreneurs, so that you can hear firsthand and get inspired and also learn a thing or two, and also share with us what you're going through yourselves. At this moment in time, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to hand over to our hostess. Please put your lovely hands together for Ms. Chitupa Mungomba.
Excellent, thank you very much. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So I think, I always say that we make assumptions, and I don't want to make an assumption that everyone knows exactly what the nature of your business is. So in terms of an elevator speech, what would you say your business is all about?
I sell money. I'm in the finance sector. Basically, I run a bureau de change business, selling and buying of foreign currency. But I've done several other businesses prior to that. Hopefully, we'll have a bit of background as we chat.
Excellent, thank you for that. So we're here tonight to talk about leadership. So how is leadership important in your business?
I think leadership is everything in whatever business you're going to set up. What differentiates one business from another? When you set up business, you, the person setting up the business, you have the vision for what you want to achieve in that particular business you've chosen to deal in. So you could hire the best brains in your accounting, in your marketing, in your sales, but unless you sell to them what your vision is,
Right.
you inspire them to walk what that vision wants to achieve, a company will not do very well. So leadership is a cornerstone and a large tenet of any successful business.
Excellent, thank you for that. I think that a lot of people also make an assumption about leadership, and I think that a lot of people have many different definitions on leadership. So if there were three things based on your experience, what would you say makes a really good leader? What are three critical things?
Like I said, number one, you're the vision carrier. Number two, you must inspire your team to achieve what you've set out to achieve. You could have a very good team. If the team is not inspired, they work at half capacity, and you don't get to achieve what you set out to achieve. And thirdly, being a leader, you could be, there are leaders and misleaders, eh? What you know is you want to make money. You're not so clear yourself in your vision, but you expect people that you've brought who do not know what that vision is to dream for you. Definitely, that mismatch creates a problem for a company. So, we're talking of vision, we are talking of inspiration, and we are talking of being on the ground and running the operation itself.
Right.
Until such a time that you've made yourself irrelevant to the operation, if you like.
Okay, thank you for that. So in terms of what you said then, if we look at something like inspiration, and I think that can be framed in different types of terminology, but let's say that inspiration, a form of inspiration, or another word would be energy, as an example. How do you manage individuals that have, for example, a low energy level?
Human beings, especially adults like to feel included.
Right.
They like to feel respected. So if you're going to run an organization and you are the know-it-all, ideas, policies flow from you to the rest. Actually, even brilliant people tend to sit back and say, well, that's how we want it. Tell us, we'll do what you say.
Right.
But when you begin to engage them, you begin to show the respect that they can participate. They can bring ideas, and you've given the vision, and you think we can do it this way. Allow them to be able to challenge the things you are putting on the ground positively.
Right.
And be positive enough to accept that another human being could see a better route. There are many routes to get in the same place. You probably will get where you want to be on your route, but these people might know how to get there even quicker. The moment people feel they're part of it in that way, so don't just give them work to do. Give them the latitude to make decisions, including wrong decisions, because like I told you, we wanted to be here, but because you made this decision, we've not gotten there. It makes people feel engaged. It challenges people to think through and add positively to a company. So in terms of, for example, my company, the policies that I have, they're a culmination of what I had as my skeleton vision in the beginning.
Right.
But there's a lot that has been contributed from my staff. I'll give you very basic examples. I run branches in various parts of the country. In Lusaka, typically it was an 8 to 5 type of business. I would knock off and 19 hours. He's a very good client of mine, and he called and said, look, I have a sudden trip to South Africa, first flight tomorrow, please help me, I need some runs.
Right.
Even when I'm not making much profit on that, maybe I'm not even making profit on it because I have to drive all the way to the bureau to go and open to save my good client.
Right.
You begin to see that there is need to provide this service then beyond the 8 to 5. And we introduced the first Beyond 5 branch, which still runs at arcades in Spa here. Now, over and beyond that, when you've demonstrated now to your workers that, look, you can think out of the box and do something different. I operated in Nakonde for a number of years. Nakonde, we used to open at 05. And by 14 hours, my manager had knocked off, and I was fine with it. This is because once they've engaged in what your vision is, they begin to realize we are not here to set up and wait for business to come to us. We are responding to the business dynamics on the ground.
Right.
In that particular market, people would leave Lusaka on a bus at 14 hours, arrive around 04, 05 in Nakonde, buy the things at Tunduma that they need to buy, and by 14 hours they're on the bus back to Lusaka. That way they saved on accommodation and all that. So if you're going to open your bureau de change at 8, 9 o'clock, you'll find Paul Kalumba has done the business at 05 with these guys, and they've all crossed to Tunduma.
Right.
Now, this did not have to take me to go on the ground. Once my employees that worked for me, they realize they engage in my vision,
Yes.
they'll get back to me and give me feedback. Look, on the ground here, business doesn't work the way it works in Lusaka. Here it's at 5 o'clock. I have a branch in Kasumbalesa. It's a similar thing. The Congolese there, you know the way the borders are, both the Kasumbalesa and the Tanzania one. People don't necessarily go through the border. It's not like Livingstone where you have a river, they just walk across. So as early as 5:30, people from the Congolese side are walking into Zambia, because for those guys, everything including basic tomato and all that, they buy from our side.
Right.
So how do I tap into that market? We open there by 6:30, the branch is open. By 15 hours, they are closed. So depending on the environment, I've allowed my managers to think, try something different, and see how it works in that particular environment.
Okay.
So by them being given the latitude to make decisions, they feel a part of it and they feel challenged. I can contribute and I'll be heard. And every human being likes to see the idea but into success.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So now the number one question that I get also is, what happens when you give employees the latitude and you tell them, become leaders in your organization, and they come up with ideas and then they fail at the ideas? What would you say to those individuals? And what would you say to entrepreneurs who, some of them have a fear of failing?
First of all, I think it starts with our education system. Our education system teaches us that failing is a bad thing. If you went to schools like I went to, we were actually put in a group 1, group 2, group 3. And the sharpshooters were in group 1, the bad guys were in group 3. And it was not uncommon after an assignment, the teacher would read out results, and the teacher would actually tell this group, Fiweleni, and they will you from the other group. Okay? So we grew up being wired to think that failing is very bad. But the reality is this, failing is a part of life. I am yet to come across an entrepreneur that can tell you that everything they did succeeded.
Right.
So before you even talk of the employee, you, the entrepreneur yourself, there will be many times that you will have fallen. So the difference really between those that break the mold into entrepreneurship is the realization and the acceptance that you will fail sometimes. Now, you really only get to fail when it's happened and you leave it. For me, I've always said, if I fail, I'll gain a lesson. So those times that I have failed, be it in business, be it in the games that I've played in my life, the games that I lost when I was young, I played chess. The games that I lost, those I held closer. I went back home, sat on my chess set, and analyzed it several hours. Why did I lose? Where did I go wrong? A lesson picked. So losses, failure, teaches us more than success. If everything is going smoothly, we will learn very little.
Right.
It is in those times that you face challenges that you really grow up and say, wow, this happened and you've overcome. So before you even talk of your employee failing, yourself recognize that you will fail.
Right.
Anybody who tells me they've never failed, I know they've never tried much in their lives.
Okay.
But any entrepreneur understands that entrepreneurship, failing is a part of it. The difference is get a lesson from every failure. I call it tuition fee. If you're in business, when something fails, we lose money. So it's a tuition fee you pay. Now, when you say I've given latitude for people to make decisions, they are still working within a system you have set up. It is very, very important. Here we have this, I call it maybe individual brilliance. So you employ people and hope that you ride on their individual brilliance. In fact, I've noted also that when you look at these universities abroad, very often, best student, African student. When you ask, how is it that when these guys come home, they are not the best economy? The answer is simple. Our friends have learned how to leverage networks. They can pick a team of average people and inspire them to achieve extraordinary results. Here we are the opposite. In fact, very often I find entrepreneurs who say, you know, I'm gonna have map for 2 days. Everything has gone wrong. This one hasn't done it, that one hasn't done it. Whenever I hear that, I know that this entrepreneur is the system in his business. Mm-hmm. The day he's dead, the day he's sick, that business is in trouble. Now, there are businesses where it's inevitable that you, the entrepreneur, will be the system. Now, these businesses, for example, if you're a sports person, we go to watch, what's the name of the fast runner guy? Bolt. The day Bolt is sick, he can't tell his coach, he can't tell his doctor, his team to say, guys, today you go race for me. Okay? In the type of business he is the system, he has to be there. We all knew Michael Jackson. Everybody who played with Michael Jackson are still alive. They know every song. Probably they practiced with him. I mean, we saw those routines he did with all those people. So there are people who know how to dance move for move, what Michael Jackson did. But he was the system. People go to watch Michael Jackson, not the rest of the people there. The moment he's not there, that corporation crumbles. So this applies to sportsmen. This will apply to artists, you know, musicians. It applies to certain professions. If you're a lawyer, most of us will mention a particular lawyer. I'm going to this lawyer because you know he's got a certain specialty in that field. So the more that lawyer succeeds, the busier he becomes, the less time he has for his family. He's a system, and the moment that lawyer is gone, very often we find such law firms tend to go with the person. So when you're running a business, try as much as possible to depend. Now, when I say systems again, very often people think immediately computer systems. No. There are various things you do to run your business. I'll give you an example of my sector, the Bureau de Change sector. I have colleagues in the sector who come and ask me, how do you run so many branches? I try to open just a second branch, they store. We will agree, people say, no, Zambians are thieves. Too bad, what's our popular girl, our recent girl?
Pamela.
Yeah, people have that vision, okay, that, look, anywhere in the world, there will be people that are rogue. But where you have rogue people and there are no systems, the stealing becomes rampant. And this is why you find that in Africa, we've normally suffered worse thefts. And this applies right to the business level. Let's ask ourselves, we have, is it Barclays, or they've been here 50 years plus, 100, some of them. How is it that the owners are sitting in England, they never come here, but we employ each other, we work. The CEO, the board, at the end of the year, they'll go sit with the owners. Sir, you told us 15%, we've delivered 15%. What these guys have done is to rely on systems, meaning we can employ and fire each other, bring in new brains. They don't wait on individual brilliance, but the teamwork to work in a system that's coherent. And so coming back to the example I was asking you, how is it that this guy has a problem in opening a second branch? The problem is he has made himself a system. So before coming to this show, I should have gone first to lock the safe myself. Then I should lock the door to the bureau, and tomorrow at 7, I must be the first person. I become a hindrance to my own growth, because tomorrow I want to be in place 2 and place 3, and I can't be everywhere. But you begin to employ systems. So it could be as basic as, okay, since I'm not there, how do I minimize the chance that somebody will do a Pamela on me? It might be a simple system like I'll have no less than co-custodian. So every safe I buy should have at least 2 people. So if the theft is going to happen, they'll need to collude in the minimum. Okay? As basic as that is, it's a system. So nobody can, wake up in the night and decide, today I want to steal. I'll go and just open the safe and go away. Yes, people can collude, but you'll have put a system that, to some extent, avoids a person going to open yourself and going away with the money. Secondly, any one of us dealing in the type of business we're dealing in, if you've not been hit yet, it's a matter of time it will happen. Insurance, another thing that we don't leverage. I should go to sleep knowing, look, if the guy I have in Kasumbalesa tomorrow decided, me I'm mad enough, I've married a Congolese woman, I'll just go across. He picks all the dollars and goes across. My business must not close. Therefore, you leverage insurance to make sure that when such a theft happens, somehow you will be helped to keep afloat. So all these little things add up to what you're calling systems. Put controls in your business that allow you to operate even when you are not there. As I sit on my cell phone, I can log on to any of my branches and watch what's happening. So whether on a computer, as long as I have internet, and I make sure that all my branches have internet, and my staff know that I watch, their managers watch, supervisors watch, and we have made sure that when somebody does wrong, show that the systems work, and make an example of a few. So I'll know what peak time is in this particular branch, and I can, like now, sit and watch on just fast play where they're issuing receipts. Because in my type of business, if you enter and they don't issue a receipt, that money can be sold, and there's no record it ever came. So I'll go there, I'll count, money is there, but actually traders happened. I'm not benefiting. So all these amount to systems. Avoid being the system. Create systems in your business. Some people sit and still doubt, I have tried to create systems in my business, but really, are they effective or not? I've normally said, ask yourself one question. If you left your business for 6 months and you come back, would you find it? If the answer is no, you've created a job for yourself, you're self-employed. But if you can find your business running, you're running a regular business, and that's the way to go.
All right, thank you so much for that. Thanks, Paul. So I think that we've touched on many leadership issues within your business, and the last one that I'd like to ask you about is if there's one thing that you could give to an up-and-coming entrepreneur, what is the one thing that you would tell them to put in place? I know that you've spoken at length about the systems, but what is the one word of encouragement that you would give to them?
Maybe before I answer that question, I believe many of us are entrepreneurs here. Anybody volunteer? If today you had $1 million abrupt, can you just tell me what you'll do?
I would probably invest it in my business. I would get bigger equipment because my capacity right now, I'm not able to do bigger jobs. That's what I would do.
Now, to me, that is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, and this is what I want you to take when she asked me, what is that one thing I want you to take? For a lot of people, they say, I'm waiting for my pension. No, I'm waiting to have money. If you wait to have money and you have no idea, that money goes away. Create ideas while you have nothing. Believe you me, money follows a good idea. That's the biggest thing. Yes, I want to be an entrepreneur. Fine, if we gave you $1 million, what will you do? For a lot of people, I find they fumble. They'll either tell you, oh, no, I'll do a salon because the neighbor does a salon, or I'll buy minibuses because the neighbor does minibuses. If I said, you want to do minibus, fine. Can I see any cash flow? Now, not all of us are accountants. I don't expect you to do a cash flow the way an accountant would do. But I expect to see some matchbox calculation that you sat down to think through. Yes, this is what it will cost me to get these fixed assets to run the business. These will be my running costs. And at the end of the day, I think I'll make this. If that is missing, and that's always a complaint, banks are not giving money. To give you money for what? If that vision is not there, we will complain and complain. I can tell you that the same banks that you say are not giving money, they have knocked on my door to say, Mr. Kalumba, do you need money? When you prove yourself, money actually follows you.
Thank you so much. So what we're going to do now, I see that hands are raised, is we're going to go into a coaching session and then we'll do the Q&As afterwards. So thank you so much for that. It was very insightful, a lot of information. I know that we got some nuggets of gold that individuals can take away and implement. So may we please give you a round of applause, everyone. Thank you. So the next part of the evening then, I will do some coaching, which is what I love doing and I'm passionate about. So I'll stand up and I'll do that and I'll go from there. All right, okay. So, okay, I'll start here. So good evening, everyone.
All right.
Excellent.
I'll join you at Q&A.
Okay, good. So what I'm here to talk about this evening, and linked to what Paul had spoken about earlier this evening, is really leadership energy. And so leadership energy is something that a lot of people take for granted or don't even think about. So when I talk about energy, what is energy? Energy really is everything. Energy is everywhere. And think about energy in terms of how you get energy, when you need it, etc. So the analogy that I like to make is that if each one of you could think of your dream car. So I want you all to think of your dream car, right? So you've got your dream car at the moment, and you get into your dream car, and then you see that it has E on the gauge. It has no fuel, it has no energy. You can't do anything about it. And so the point is that you need energy for everything, and you need to bring energy to your business. Because in business, you are the message. So tonight, really, as I talk, I really want you to think about energy and leadership energy. So the question that I want to ask you before you start asking us questions is, if there were no limits, if you were not fearful, if you didn't have any boundaries, who would you be and what would you do? I'd like to start off with my first video. It's really about being an entrepreneur and what you need to do to be an entrepreneur.
What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? In a world of inaction, over-promising and under-delivering. Every second, man seems to claim himself an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is someone that would never call himself an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is someone that is happy to work while all others are out partying. An entrepreneur's drug is success. He is continue to get up off of the canvas when you were beaten down relentlessly. Win or learn. I never lose. I will succeed, not immediately, but absolutely and definitely. I will take action when others hesitate. I will think big when others don't. I will sacrifice when others won't. I will dare to dream of greatness when others fear it. I will outwork my competition day and night. I am the captain of my fate, the master of my soul, the boss of my dreams, the king of my goals. You have to be a leader, to be unique, to be hungry always, and never satisfied. Proud, but never satisfied. To be followed, ride the competition, to take criticism and negativity and use it to build your greatness, to survive the storms and the tough moments, to be humble in the good times. It is sacrificing your today for a better tomorrow. It is living a few years of your life like others won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like others can. That sacrifice, the dedication, the commitment, the discipline. Only rare human beings have these qualities. Only the very best among us. Then there's failure. Because we all live it, it's coming, it's human nature. I mean, find me a successful human that has never failed. You can't, they don't exist. The only difference between the extremely successful among us in any field, any unknown, the only difference, the successful guy didn't give up. He found a way when there seemed to be no way. The other guy, he threw in the towel. Failure is simply learning another way not to do something. There are great lessons in failure. When it comes to success, there is rarely ever a time when luck comes into play. Hard work, however, always comes into play. There is no greater satisfaction in life than that of hard work paying off. No greater satisfaction than knowing you are self-made. Take action while all others are sitting on their hands. The great difference between the somebodies and the nobodies very often only comes down to who is willing to take action, who is willing to put in the work, the ground. Are you willing?
Right, so the question really is, are you willing? And what are you willing to do? So how do we become the message that we want to convey? In my books, really, it's about understanding intentional leadership presence. Those who understand intentional leadership presence thrive. Those who don't understand it only survive. So my question tonight to you then is, do you want to thrive or do you just want to survive? If you just want to survive, you're in the wrong place. If you want to thrive, you're in the right place. So let's look at this in a little bit more of an in-depth way. Intentional leadership presence has many different components. And really there are 5 components to it. I'm going to focus on 3 this evening. I like to look at acronyms. Let me tell you what the 5 are. The intention, energy, presence, action, and skills. So in terms of an acronym, let's think of a pie. So you can always think of yourself as a piece of pie. Presence, P for presence, I for intention, and E for energy, plus the other 2, action and skills. So I'm going to talk briefly about the other 2 and then focus in on the other 3. The other 2 are action and skills. What's important is that when you go into a business, you have to have the skills to undertake that business. If you don't have the skills, then you have to employ someone who has the skill. And you also have to be willing to employ people who are more skilled in a particular area than yourself. You can't have a business and then say, I'm going to be skilled at everything. It doesn't work that way. So I always get the question of, I'm really passionate about something, right? Does that mean I'm going to succeed? I believe you've got to have passion, you definitely have to, but you also have to be skilled, and as Paul said, you have to put the systems in place. The other one is action. You know, people don't realize that business really entails being action-orientated and doing the things that other people really aren't prepared to do. So you have to look at your life and say, do I really want to become an entrepreneur? Am I really wanting to see this through? Am I prepared to get 3 hours of sleep sometimes a night? Am I prepared to go way beyond anything for my clients, for my family, for myself? You know, you have to ask yourself questions. What are the sacrifices that I'm willing to make? And so in terms of action, I always say that it has to be conscious action, meaning if it's not conscious action, then you'll end up being a headless chicken. Again, as Paul said, related to that, you've got to have systems. You've got to know what you're acting on. So let us then go on to presence. What is leadership presence? Really, leadership presence is the way I show up, who I am in the world, who I am to my clients, who I am to my business. That you can sustain leadership presence is if you are authentic. You cannot be one way in one arena and then another way in another arena. So just having met Paul, I don't expect to see him next week or whatever, completely paralytic and drunk at a bar. I don't expect it. Leadership really has to be a leadership lifestyle. So if you choose to be a leader, you have to be a leader in all facets of your life. So in terms of leadership presence, it's how do I show up, how do I present myself, how do I represent myself, and really the way that you show up represents your core values. Your core values, you have to know what your core values are, and they have to transcend your business, so that there are always going to be shortcuts in business, always. You have to ensure that you are looking at your core values, living your core values, interrogating them, and ensuring that you are authentic in that space at all times. So I want to look at another video.
What is the real motivation? What is the energy of my intention that's going to go into my thoughts and action and then be returned back to me? It is law. It's law. Intention. Your intention is always one with the law. Meaning, before you even think about a thing, you have an intention for the thing. And that the intention is going to determine the outcome. You get to be the master of your own fate. You get to be the captain of your own soul. And if you just manage that, if you just took care of your territory, oh, the glorious, 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 wondrous opportunities and possibilities that are waiting for you. So the question is, what are you resisting? What are you pushing against? What are you not allowing? What are you blocking? Because you have this idea of who and what you're supposed to be. Instead of leaning into the dream that's already been created and waiting for you. It's waiting for you. And the second, it's an instant thing. It's a shift in the way you see yourself and the power from which you have come.
So, as Oprah said, you have to lean into your dream, and it's really about how you see yourself. And so the question that I would like all entrepreneurs to ask themselves this evening really is, what is your intention? I believe that there are two types of business. The one business is one that is fueled by ego and the other one that is fueled by eco. So if you're in a business that is completely ego-driven, then there are consequences of that. You are in this business to make money, it's all for you, it's to be possessive, it's short-lived, because that's what's driving you. However, if you can ask yourself what is the impact that I'm going to make in this world by me having this unique business? What are the ecosystems that I'm going to impact? Then it will make a material difference to your business. And as Paul said, the money will definitely follow. So I now want to go into energy, which is PIE, right, energy. And I really want to talk to energy because it's something that really enthuses me, and it's a takeaway that I believe that if you understand even a little bit about it this evening, you can go into your business and start making the necessary changes. So in terms of leadership energy, that in simple terms, there are two types of energy. One type of energy is catabolic energy, and this is energy that is of a negative nature. It doesn't serve the business in any way, right? It's catabolic. And then there is anabolic energy. Those are different energy types that will serve your business again and again. So I frame this into 7 different types of energy, and it's important as a leader not only to be able to maintain your own energy, but also to be able to maintain the energy of those around you, because I'm sure that we can all think of people who are what I call energy vampires. No matter how good you think an idea is, no matter how wonderful, how your vision is, etc., these are the people who will tell you everything that could possibly go wrong in your business. And if I can give you some advice, that is the easiest option out in a business. It's so easy to find all the holes and everything that could possibly go wrong. So if you are aware of any energy vampires, then I would make sure that you limit them, especially in the life of your business. So the first type of energy that I'm going to talk about is a catabolic energy, and it is an energy that will be displayed.
I run a car business. Things are not going so well. The dollar has gone up. Ish. The politics, my goodness. Ish. And people are not usually coming through my place to buy cars. They're going on these networks, and really, did I get into the right business? Is there anything I can really do? Oh my goodness. I wish I never even started this anyway. I'm doing everything so perfectly, and yet everything around me is just crushing me down. There's no hope for me anyway. There's no hope. I'm done. I'm done.
Right, we'll have someone else show a different viewpoint on that particular energy, and then I will ask the audience if they know what energy that is.
I don't think I can do this farming thing anymore. The weather has been so bad. Army winds attacking. I think I should just try something else. This can't work.
Right, and the last form of this energy, we'll take a look at that.
It's not working. I'm putting in so much money into this business. I'm making so much losses. Clearly, this leadership has failed us. I mean, look at the Great North Road. I'm bringing in goods all the way, and I have to be servicing my trucks all the time. I'm making so much losses. I don't think this will work. This is not for me.
Okay, thank you very much. Can anyone identify that type of energy within a business, if they were to put a name to it? Negative energy, right. So that is a form of negative energy, which is a catabolic energy, that is right. And so we term that a victim energy. And a victim energy is you find things that are external that you believe are affecting your business, and it stops you in your track. So, for example, everything is external, is affecting your business, and it's negative. So you make it all a negative, right? You take no responsibility whatsoever in the situation. So it's always going to be, oh, load shedding, that's why I'm not making money. Oh, it's the government, that's why I'm not making. Oh, I've got employees who suck, that's why my business isn't working. So you take absolutely no responsibility of that particular energy. The next type of energy is the aggressor energy. That also is a negative energy, right? And that is a very destructive energy because that's the sort of energy where you have entrepreneurs and even in corporate that come in and they are annoyed at everyone as they come in. And I always used to say that that the most aggressive nation in terms of in the workplace is in South Africa that I have come across. They are truly aggressive, but with the Zambian traffic being the way it is, I see a few more people with an aggressive attitude as they come into office spaces and work. So these are people who really, they disrespect you, they're always angry, they're always saying that the business is not working and is not going their way because also of external factors, but instead of going inward, they explode and go outward. So I want to show you a video of how one, did we get it on here? How one can change one's anger. Did you manage to get that from Mrs. Chimya? No. Okay. Well, you can ask me later how you can change that around. But you can change around your negative energies from negative to positive. Then you have an energy that is called sitting on the fence. Sitting on the fence are entrepreneurs who don't actually know what they're doing. So they're the sort of entrepreneurs who one day they will say, someone will come and talk to them and they'll say, oh my goodness, if you go into the Forex business, oh, those guys are making tons of money. Let's go into the Forex business, right? The next day they'll talk to someone who will say, oh my goodness, I hear African textiles are doing so well in Europe. You see them, so they're not committed to anything. When you talk to them, it seems as if they're completely engaged in every single business prospect that they're going into, but it's not sustainable. So these are people who are sitting on the fence. And really in any business, you need people who are committed to your vision and to where you're going. So now we go into the positive energies, and the first one is compassionate energy, right? And so the person who comes to mind here really is someone like a Desmond Tutu. These are people who serve your business. So these are individuals that you would want really to be in your customer service area. Sometimes you may have the vision, you may have different aspects of your business, but really you're looking for someone who has compassionate energy, who's willing to listen and sit down to what your customers want, what they're asking for, etc. Moving up the ladder, you then have the win-win energy. The win-win energy is looking at your business and saying, how can we essentially make this a winning situation? So as an example, I have an example with Richard Branson, who's really seen as a win-win leader. So he went to court because another airline took him to court, and he won the case because he didn't actually do what they said he'd done, and he then went and shared over £20 million with all his employees. So that is a win-win situation. How can we both win out of this situation? Moving up the energy ladder then, we then turn to the innovators or the creators. So these are people, for example, like a Steve Jobs, a Mark Zuckerberg, and these are individuals who really can see the business the way that others don't currently see it. So they don't go into business and start doing competitor analysis and see what the competition is doing. they are already so ahead of the curve in terms of what they want to do. And really those are the visionaries in any type of business. And you have to be a visionary in your business. And I've seen, many interviews with highly successful leaders in business, and they say that really what you need to do is, as Oprah said, you need to stay in your lane. The second you start trying to figure out how someone else does their business, you are not only wasting time, but that is not your territory. You know why you went into business. You need to find what is your purpose in business, in life, on this earth, and then you need to bring that forth. The last type of energy is what I call enlightened energy. And enlightened energy is an energy that is, I would say, like a Deepak Chopra energy, where things just flow at a level where you yourself don't even have to get involved with things. It is a level where I would say you are living in the realm of authenticity. So those are the 7 energy levels, and I urge you to really look at them, and in terms of what we call the anabolic energies, to bring them into your business and into your life. Because if you don't understand them, things will be happening in your life, in your business, and you will take no responsibility over it. You will think it's all because of the other person, etc. And you can really, in different situations, use all the energy types. So in terms of leadership energy and leadership presence, we are all a composite of those energies. The trick is to ensure that we minimize on the catabolic negative energies and we enhance the positive anabolic energies. So on that note, I hope that you have some takeaway tools with that, and that you go and lead your entrepreneurial space with energy and with authenticity. So thank you for that. So I'm going to invite Paul back to the fireside, and then we will go with Q's and A's.
For your lovely speeches.
Can you just stand up and give us your name? That would be great. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie.
And if you're in a business or thinking of a business, let us know about that.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie, and yes, I'm in a business. I'm into event planning and management, as well as running a nonprofit, which is the Women's Network. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for this very insightful topic. I really appreciate both your words. I wish there was more than just this audience listening to this right now, because I'm really, I'm geared for tomorrow. Secondly, I would like to say I've got a few questions, although I won't take up everybody's time. So my first one is, I would like both of you to maybe just give us a little insight on your challenges that have probably pushed you to the edge at some point in your entrepreneur run. Because I know, being one myself, I've had many days where I'm just like, no, why did I do this again? So that's my first question. And my second question would be, what is your advice to a young entrepreneur who has a lot going on in their head, and they're trying to pinpoint what is really their calling in terms of what they need to, move forward with in business-wise? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Paul, would you like to start?
Yes. Thank you. What challenges? I think they're part of our daily. But if you want me to pick instances, maybe I'll go. Firstly, are you in your first business?
Yes.
All right. Be prepared that business might fail and the next one will fail before you get solid. Don't stop. I'll go back. When I was much younger, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what I was really going to do in life, so I did try several things. And I recall one of the things I did had sold second-hand tires in Kabwe. Basically, there's a truck coming from Lusaka going to the Copper Belt that I meet by chance, and I'm chatting to these people, and they're telling me this was, I think around 93, around 1993. So I'm chatting with these guys, and they have some source. They were getting tires out of Europe, which they would bring in containers, and they would sell at wholesale. And that's how many tires are in this container. They tell me X hundred, and I'm doing my matchbox calculation in my head. The number of minibuses and taxis that were in Kabwe, there was not a single person selling tires. And I tell these guys, you know what? This truck ain't going to the Copper Belt. I'm buying the tires. When I was saying I'm buying those tires, I really didn't even have the money to pay for those tires. So my challenge in that business to start with is money. But I had to convince these people that you're coming with me to my house, you're uploading. We had this garage that we're not using, that we offloaded. So first of all, you create the confidence with the people you're going to deal with, that they can trust you with these goods. And I knew I needed to sell maybe 15% of those tires to pay them. And I told the guys, you know what? You'll come back in 2 weeks. The moment they drove off, I was at the bus stop, and I got every minibus driver, every taxi driver, because I was selling my tires maybe at 25% what a brand new one was. In a short time, I was known. For those guys, instead of 2 weeks, by end of 1 week, I had the money to pay them. When they were coming, I said, you should have come last week. Actually, the money was here. And they were excited. They didn't have to go to the Copper Belt anymore. They were supplying me, and I was making money. I was very young, so I'm making money, and I'm really playing. And now, what challenge did I face in that business? The challenge was one day the truck didn't come. That was before cell phones. That was before. I never bothered to ever research where exactly were these guys getting tires from. I never even bothered to research where these guys were in Lusaka exactly. They knew where I was, and I told them bring, and for as long as I was selling, but something went wrong that I don't know. And my business, which was so profitable, came to an abrupt end. So, you understand the challenge of setting up a business that I didn't understand the full life cycle of that business. I found myself a niche, I was in there and I was making money, but it died very suddenly. So the lesson there for me was, if I'm going to do any business, I must understand its full life cycle. Where does it start? What is the source to the time I'm selling? You understand? I'm going to work. The same around 93, 94. And on my way to work, I'd pass a market in Cabo called Green Market. And I observed that in the morning, a van would come, and all these marketeers would be rushing, holding on, and in a few minutes, they were selling fish. All the fish is taken. And I'm wondering to myself, if this fish can go so fast, how can I participate? Clearly, there's a market for this thing. How can I participate? I knew nothing about fish. I did very little research. In my research, I found out where it was coming from, Lukanga, and basically, you would, when you go to Lukanga, there were no facilities per se. So you had to carry ice with you, wooden boxes and sawdust so that you could buy over several days. Do you know what I did? I never went to buy. Instead, I employed fishermen when I didn't even own a boat. I found fishermen who I gave a target. I need 1 ton of fish. So when you go in the water, I don't want to see your faces until you've made 1 ton for me. Then I hired, because I couldn't afford a boat, at the river. So my 2 fishermen, I would get them cooking oil, get them salt, get them mealie meal, and I told them the relish is in the water, you catch yourself. And these guys would go, when they have like 800 kg, one would come back to shore and tell me we are almost on target, and I'll get a van, get that fish, sell. You are with me? Now, in a short while, I meet a friend who is from Copperbelt who says, "Is this how much you're giving away this fish? In Kitwe at Mutondo, I'll sell so much." I'm excited with the idea. So now I need to employ a few more people. My fishermen have to go back to the water when they bring. So I employ a cousin and a friend. And very soon my cousin was wearing latest stonewash, latest sneakers. But I'm not making money. He said, "Wait a minute, I gave you 1 ton of fish. This is..." Then suddenly you learn the stories. No, because the ice was melting, the fish would have gone bad. We had to give it away cheaply. Oh, no, after, my ice melts, that 1 ton becomes 800. So 200 kg is lost. And so those are challenges now that you begin to face. And while you're losing money, make sure that you learn from it. In my current business, you know what happens, even just in the last week. You've seen the sudden drop of the dollar. Today we're talking of what, 12.65 or thereabout. So if I was sitting on $100,000 that I bought at 13 kwacha, it means I can't sell it anymore and make 1.3 million, because now the rate is at 12.65. You are with me? So those are daily challenges that in your chosen field, you have to understand that this will happen, and when it happens, begin to learn how to deal with those. You have external challenges. I lost my license in 2012. I was closed down, license revoked. You are out of business. It's a huge challenge. We have a silly regulation that limits a person to buying $1,000 a day. I've given my cashiers a target. They want to hit that target. So if somebody comes and this guy says, "I've got $10,000, I want to buy or sell," whatever it is, the cashier look at the target to meet, and this 10,000 the cashier decides to transact. I was out of the country at the time, but I just got an email from Bank of Zambia. "You've breached this regulation, and can you tell us why we should not take disciplinary action against you?" Managing that sort of thing to an extent where they actually close you and you still continue. At the point they revoked my license, I still kept, that time I had 7 branches. I still kept all branches. I was paying rent, meaning I'm not working, I'm paying rent. I kept all my employees and I was paying them a full salary. It took 2.5 months or so of a lot of pushing and to turn that decision, because deep down I knew this decision was harsh. Yes, we've broken the rule, but I think it's terribly harsh. And the law itself, I think I find it stupid, because nobody travels with $1,000. Just your accommodation, your food. Which holiday are you going with $1,000? If you are, well, living in Zim, try Chirundu here, they've got nice facilities, it won't be enough. So the reality is business and regulations need to respond to the business dynamics on the ground. So I've faced challenges where I was completely out of this business. Today I'm running over 20 branches, but I could have been dead at 7 had I not the drive to fight even when I was browbeaten, down and without a license.
Thank you for that. Thank you. That was a big challenge. So, okay, so would you like to hear some more on challenges or? Okay, great. You got the.
Just so I often ask that question, by the way. I've been to a lot of talks. I've been to quite a few talks, and every time that's my go-to question, because I think people have the perception that because someone is doing very well in their business, they never went through any challenges or potholes, etc., etc. So it's important that even if that information is not for me,
Right.
Somebody out there is getting the sense in all of it. So, and for me anyways, I learn something different every day. For example, today I learned that I am going through what's correct for an entrepreneur, so I'm on the right track. I just hope somebody out there got the information as well that challenges are acceptable. Just don't get into something that you're not meant to get into in the first place. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you. Right.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Paul.
Hi.
Let me applaud you for your very eloquent delivery, if I would call it that. My name's William Wamba, and then I've been running a business for a while, right? And then, although you did allude to it, I would want a little more emphasis on it. I'm sure you'd agree with us, or with me rather, that in this part of the world, relationships are important, particularly those relationships that concern blood relatives. The business I run is labor intensive, and then sometimes I do get demands from relations that, hey, your niece, your nephew, there's nothing he's doing, please engage him. And then, like you say, I've tried to put in a system where I engage these people on merit, okay? But, there are always overtones. Maybe your brother, you live with him, is privy to hear your conversation at breakfast, then he goes and spills it at work. You get it,
Yeah.
The moment you try to discipline your niece, who's just come from the village, the entire village is up in arms against you. You know what I mean? How do you, Paul, please, how do you balance between being the entrepreneur, the boss, and the uncle or the father even? How do you do that? How well, I find it a little bit dodgy. Get it?
Thank you. I must mention that when I started my business, having gone to school in Lusaka, my college days here, and I was very popular with the females, my biggest worry was if I set up this, my first branch is one at Central Park. It's right in the middle of town. It meant that all my college mates, boys and girls especially, it's harder to say no to the girls. They would simply stop over and say, I just thought I should say hi, and it's lunch hour. So my solution to that was to make my wife my partner. So when I started, I worked with my wife in my business. And your question touches it because my wife is my relative, she's my wife, all right? But our lines were very clear that the husband-wife relationship ended at home. At work, she played her role, I played mine. If she's a goalkeeper, she's in goals. If I'm the striker, I must do my work. For the first 5 years, I actually never employed a relation of mine. And this business with my cousin being my salesman, I learned a lesson from there. It took me a good 5 years before I employed any relative. I have a few relatives who work with me, but they account for less than 10% of my workforce today. And for those that work for me, they understand that their position is even more precarious than a person who's not my relative. I take a very hard stance when a person who's related to me commits certain offenses, because the moment your daughter or your wife can simply say, it's lunch hour, chosakwa $10 tigule lunch, what will stop the other guy saying this is the way it should be? You're with me? So if you're going to work with relatives, be hard on them, harder than you are ordinarily on the other employees. How do you manage this issue of, Denise has finished school? I have so many of those, whether it's my relatives, my close friends, people I know from all walks of life. It's a challenge. We know that employment in this country is very difficult to find. I have people, by the way, who are degree holders working as cashiers. That's how difficult employment is to find in this country. So you have a relative who believes by virtue of them, you've come from the same village or whatever, their kid should come in. And I say, how will I manage this? What I've done is to create a system where whoever asks for a job, I simply tell them two basic things. First of all, in my type of business, over 90% of people I employ are cashiers. Somebody must be good with numbers. So if your numbers and your English is missing on your grade 12, forget it. So they understand that aspect, because in my business, a person who doesn't understand numbers will give away the money, it's immediate loss. We deal with cash. But secondly, I've been provided a system where when my uncle comes and says, here your cousin or your niece, they've finished, I'll actually sit you down and say, even Miss Mungomba here, actually, the daughter has finished, I have a CV. Even the general there, the daughter has a CV. So 1, 2, 3, all very close to me. You've given me your CVs. Thank you, they qualify. When there's an opportunity, I'll call them and the best will pick it. So tell your child you afforded them an opportunity to be interviewed, but it's not automatic that they'll get the job, because every other person who's applied is just as close to me. That's how I've managed relatives.
Okay, question here in the front. In the front here, let's start here.
I do a branding and print business. So I guess I'm just going to take you through what I've done so far, and maybe you could give me advice. Thank you so much for mentioning that you play chess. It's my favorite game. I kind of feel that that's the one game that's not based on probability or luck. It's about actually what you're doing, and the pawn can actually take down somebody like the king or the queen. So what I've done for my business is in terms of vision, and I've tried to share as much as possible with the people that I work with my vision. You had mentioned energy. That really spoke to me. And it made me kind of think to say, what sort of energy have I then been implementing in my business? So I've had situations where you're doing a big deal. Like I said, I'm trying to increase my capacity. It's the only way for my profitability, and I have a vision to say, look, I'm going to be an innovative, disturber or something. I should do something innovative, but it should be something that disturbs innovation in essence. Despite telling these people exactly how I want things to be done, and even showing them to say, look, what I'm asking you, I can actually do the job, and actually doing the work to show them an example of the level of excellence that I see for my business, they still get it wrong. So my question is, in terms of energy, and then communicating my vision, what am I doing wrong? Because I've actually even then done the grimy work myself to show them, to say, look, this is something I can do, so I'm not asking you to do anything that I essentially can't do. And even in terms of energy, I've been a disengaged employee before. Like, I'll be one of those who wakes up and I'm just like, oh my God, I have to go back to that workplace again. And so I know all of that, and I've taken steps to make this environment very friendly. It's not antagonistic. What am I doing wrong? Because these guys have really cost me a lot of things, like even just simple, I mean, the branding and print business, you can imagine just a simple thing like Zikta. This person printed 100 shirts that said Zikita. It's frustrating. What then do I do? Where am I going wrong? Where am I going wrong? Like, I feel like I've done everything.
So if I could help with that question. So the first thing, I think, in terms of when you have said that you have shared your vision with them, right? What's important to know is that each one of us has some kind of vision in our lives.
Yeah.
We've all got dreams, even if they have been suppressed somewhere, right? So even though you have this amazing vision for your business, what is of critical importance is the people who you are bringing on board. What is their vision? Is it aligned to this grand vision? Because with visionaries, I mean, if you think of like a Steve Jobs, when he started talking about Apple and tablets and all that sort of stuff, the fact of the matter is, you have to understand what their dream is, what motivates them, what is going to get them on the same page as you. So you can't force people to come on board with your vision, even though you think it's fabulous. You have to understand what gets them going. And it's not even a matter of money. So in terms of having a workforce that is completely energized, you have to know what energizes them individually, what energizes them in their family, so that when you're looking at ways to reward them, it doesn't necessarily have to be with money per se, but it's with other types of incentives that energize them and get them going. The person who made that mistake in your business is someone who it's not important to them. It's just not important to them, whatever it's called. So it's a two-way communication, a vision, right? You have to say, this is my vision, and then you have to ask them, based on what I've just said, how do you see yourselves aligning to that vision or not? Or have you got some other perspective? And it's a continuous relationship in a business. It's not a once-off and then you get everybody on the same page and you say, hey, let's go, I'm energized, I'm reared up. Sometimes people can't even see where you're going. And they don't necessarily have to see where you're going, but they have to trust you. They have to trust you in the process. And people will trust you all the way if they can trust you with small stuff. So in terms of, so what I picked up then is that obviously you're highly frustrated. Everyone would be highly frustrated. However, it's how are you going to engage? The next step is how are you going to engage with that individual who made that mistake? Are you going to come across with an energy that is an aggressive energy? That might not work for them, right? So you have to kind of say, this, you produce this is what it means to the business, and this is another thing that's really important as well. People assume that everybody within their business knows how the business runs and where money is made and where it's lost and where it's not. If you can, I think people should explain to everyone who's in their business, this is what generates revenue, this is what enhances costs, this is how to cut down, etc. What does it mean if we make more? And what is important to you? You have to know what's important to people, and then you energize them. I can tell you that straight away. So that's my response to you. gentleman in the back, right? You've been trying to ask a question.
Okay, my name is Litelele. I've been in business for almost 7 years now.
Congratulations, because most people fail and finish.
Successful.
No, the mere idea that you have been in a business for 7 years means that there is an element of success somewhere.
I've done business starting from selling grass to selling TVs and most high tech. And I've made $1 million kwacha before, and I've lost it, all of it.
Oh, we've all done that.
This has gone through what he mentioned earlier. It's through pure forage and side selling. And I'm sure you also have side selling in your business, where a person comes in and handles, maybe you've got a big chunk of foreign exchange, and your cashiers probably feel the guy in Katondo Street would probably do a better job.
We call it running a bureau within a bureau.
Yeah, within a bureau, yes. My first question, which you could actually answer now, what is the level of your education? What have you attained, like in terms of education level? Because I want to understand that part of it. I think it's quite important. Then secondly, I wanted to also find out how are you handling? You've been in business for a long time, and I think the starting business now and then is totally different. So I think the youth of today are dealing with a now problem, and I'm sure your success did just not come in a few years. So what would you advise for the youth that have the problem of today, the small problems that are there that they need to fix today? And I think this is what has gotten a lot of us in business, is because we want to go into business to fix our immediate problem, and to see that business as an alternative to our current problem, or because we got fired yesterday, so you think a business is an alternative. You wanted to go in all out without preparation and everything else. So basically, my question is, what is your advice to the youth now? I know you're successful, it's taken years for you to succeed, but for a youth that is starting today, with all these dynamics that have happened, with all these influx of foreign investors that have come in and making the competition and the marketplace congested, what is your advice in that line? Then secondly, with your business, do you see yourself running the business in the same way with all these technologies and alternatives? Oh, by the way, I'm also into financial markets. I actually am a trader, so I trade. So for me, I feel sitting on my computer buying dollar and selling it is much, much better than setting up an office that has got overheads. So I want to see what was my line of question? What do you see? What do you see your business being in the next 5 years with all this competition and with all these technologies that are coming in, with all this? What is your direction? And thirdly,
okay, so I think let us stick to those, right? So
I should have come with pen and paper.
Absolutely.
All right. By education, I suppose you're talking about academics.
Yes.
My academic background, actually, I'm from the IT background. I was one of the earliest Microsoft certified systems engineers in Zambia. So though I apply my trade in the financial sector, my background is IT. And this is, I think, a very important lesson to the people sitting here today. As entrepreneurs, your professional background matters less. Get that very clearly. Your professional background, you could be a policeman, you could be a teacher. I've seen, take for example, the late Dr. Manasseh Piri. He's one of the best director generals we had at ZNBC. He was from a medical background. Fred Membe, he's an accountant by profession, but he ran the best print media business in this country. There are several Zambians I could pick as examples who come from one background in terms of academics, but do well in another. Now, why is that so? The unfortunate part here, we have defined and boxed ourselves in our academic boxes. I'm a lawyer, therefore all I can do is go to court and litigate, or I'm a policeman, therefore I must be at the police station and, catch thieves, chase thieves, whatever it is. You need to break out of that. Your professional life is a mere start in your journey. It's a matchstick that lights up the fire to achieve what you want to achieve. So never be boxed by going by my background. I should have been running either an ISP, or I should have been importing computers, or I should have been writing software. I'm not doing any of those things. That's because in my journey through life, while what I traded as a professional person was my IT skills, I worked in the bank, amongst other places. I worked for Citibank. I worked for the Commerce Bank. And it was while working in the bank that I came across treasury work where there was Forex trade. Now, because I had to support that department, I needed to have a bit of knowledge what goes in there. At that point, I didn't realize this is what I would do in life. I had left the bank, years had passed. I was working for a World Bank funded project. Therefore, every month end, I found myself at a bureau de change, changing my dollars to keep my family. Then I begin to ask myself, wait a minute, what does it take to be on the other side of the counter? And my knowledge from Citibank begins to kick in, and I say, look, this is really a scaled down version of treasury. It has no forwards, it's just cash trade. What would be difficult about this? And I began to research it. So when you talk of education, let's be very holistic. What do I call education myself? Your academics is only but a part of it. My children, 2 of my daughters are in attendance here, they'll tell you, I have made sure that every year I travel with them to a different place, just to open their horizon. To me, it's a part of education. To see how people do things in different places. To see what a human being can conceive and achieve and put on the ground. It opens a person's perspective to life. To me, that is education. Today, we have a problem. We produced a lot of guys we call architects today. Call one and tell him, I want a house. He's going to draw a number of boxes for you and tell you, bedroom, sitting room, dining. This is a house. You are with me? But when you're exposed, you begin to realize it's not just having these boxes, brick and mortar, and you've made. You can make a place that is beautiful, a place that is out of this world. It is that exposure to me that I call education. Education is not that which you passed in your exam, like I passed my IT. The education is that I sat in the Citibank and saw somebody doing treasury, and I'm able to apply that later. Warren Buffett says, education is what remains after you've forgotten everything that you learned at school. So keep that in mind when you talk about education. People think first I must be a PhD in this for me to do this business. I may be the only person in my field who is not from a finance background. Most of my colleagues running bureau de change, they're either bankers, accountants, or some financial background. But I can tell you that I run the biggest chain in this country, and I'm not from that background. That's because I've understood that education is not just what you get by writing an exam and having somebody mark you and give you a paper.
Thank you very much for that, and I concur with that completely. I think that people also believe that, as you've said, you get a degree, etc., and then that's the field you must go in. But the other thing that I'd like to add to that is that in whatever field you're in, I always ask my children to say, how can I turn this into a business? So from the age of 3, I said, how can you change this into a business? Even if you're a lawyer, how do you change into a business? You want to be an actress, how do you change this into a business? And the second question that I ask with that, in your business, how do you want to change the world? What is your purpose? You've got to find your purpose. Okay, great.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Mtamina. I'm from Precise Business Solutions. Our business is basically business advisory services, accounting, taxation, auditing, and the like. It is our intention to sort of like branch off from the consultancy services into manufacturing, and we've developed a product which we should be able to launch at any point. Now, recently, there's been the introduction of the Continental Free Trade Area. It basically means that African countries will be able to trade amongst each other without the border expenses, so to speak. Now, what I'd like to find out from you is, how do you see this impacting Zambia? In your response, I want you to think of a basic SME, not so much the bigger trade kings and them. Thanks.
Thank you. Firstly, I want to tell you that it's a good thing that Africa is moving towards that. The immediate impact, near term, will be that the bigger economies, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, will actually, these have a strong manufacturing base. Therefore, they will have a big market. But what that will do in the near term, no, Buhari has signed. Buhari signed it a few days ago. The only country that is yet to sign was Eritrea. It had stayed away because of their war with Ethiopia. That also is off the books now. So even Eritrea has said, please tell us a little bit more about this. So we only have Eritrea that hasn't signed now. It was Eritrea, Nigeria, but Nigeria has come on. Well, Nigeria has much benefit. One, because of their population, they have a bigger production base compared to their neighbors. South Africa, the same here. They have a bigger production base. We produce, Trade Kings produces a washing soap, for example. We also have imported one from South Africa. Currently, the prices are nearly at par. But the effect of dropping by making the free trade, it means as that soap is coming from South Africa, it will not be subject to the taxes, the tariffs that is subject as it enters Zambia. That South African soap will be cheaper than Trade Kings. If Trade Kings does not innovate, it's going to close. So the smaller economies in the near term will actually suffer. But long term, it's a way to go, because as Africa, take the United States, for example. When you talk of manufacturing of vehicles, they have a particular area. Go to Detroit, that area, you'll find most of these people manufacturing vehicles there. If you talk of IT, you'll go to Silicon Valley, you'll find them in that area. If you talk of farming, so they do have areas that specialize in certain industries. In those areas, previously, there were other businesses. You know what I mean? That's going to happen here short term, but long term, it's beneficial to all of us, because this Africa belongs to all of us. What follows after the lifting of trade barriers is a free movement of people. That means that we can pick the best skilled African in Malawi to serve in South Africa or in Congo or in another country, and will be more effective. Currently, we are such a displaced continent. We have a highly educated population, for example, in Nigeria, with resources in DRC where the education levels are very low. Therefore, as Africans, we are getting a raw deal. So, let the day come when those Nigerians can flood Congo, but turn around that Congo. At the end of the day, it will benefit every African in Congo, and like today's situation. So short term, yes, there will be impact on smaller businesses. Long term, we stand to benefit as Africa.
Any other questions? Should we take one last question?
Hi, Paul. Hi. My name is Eugene Wenda. I've known Mr. Kalumba for a number of years now. We go a long way. I just wanted to understand something, Paul. My background is business administration and project management, but I run software and application development companies in the UK, Switzerland, and Zambia. I fall into by default. I want to understand where your background of ICT has taken you in terms of overcoming. We're living in a digital world. A gentleman over there says he trades on his desk and he sells the currency. How's that impacting on your business, and how are you mitigating that going forward?
I think I was very lucky that I found myself in the profession. Because the challenges that my competitors face have exactly to do with leveraging technology. Like I was saying here, from a simple basic control of, I can at any time view any of my branches around the country from the comfort of my cell phone. It's a technology that to me comes without thinking twice because I'm in this field. Whereas for my competitor, it's something that, well, will that really work? Secondly, I'm in a cash business. I need to know and be sure that in Kasumbalesa, in Livingstone, people, what I see at the end of the day as a trades are real, and the cash I see on paper is on the ground there. Coming from an IT background, I'm one of the few that have had a system, now talking of a computerized system, where I'm able to monitor activities in all my branches around the country as much, as I would like to. So it was pure luck that I found myself in IT, but I found that my IT background helps me a lot in leveraging technology to run my business. So you can't avoid it. For those that are not of an IT background, you still need to at least be at user level, have an understanding. And here's a good example. His background is business admin, but he's running an IT company. It's inevitable. Everything has moved that way. In the previous years, when you talk to people owning hotels, you say which is the biggest chain. Today, the biggest chain in the hotel industry doesn't run a single hotel. It's Airbnb. You have the biggest taxi company is Uber. They don't own a single vehicle. So the models are changing. They are leveraging technology. Even the business we are in, I'll tell you, we've just opened Ndola office, Ndola Airport branch, and I'll be opening at Lusaka International branch, where Barclays is now. What has happened? Why is Barclays moving from that point? When they opened, we were still really in the cash business. So customs, for example, all the businesses that work around there, they brought cash to deposit in the bank. But with time, technology has evolved. People reach the airport and they swipe. So the bank is seated, nobody is bringing. The only time they ever get to trade is when a person has arrived, they need to change some dollars to book a taxi or something. And they say, wait a minute, we are no longer a bank, we're really a bureau de change here. Business dynamics change, and they will change. The only thing that's constant is change. Your ability to continue to innovate and move with that change is what keeps you alive in whatever business you are in. Otherwise, one day we had Kodak, today people are using phones to take pictures. No need to go and develop your pictures elsewhere. This is going to happen. Today we are talking of, you know that the East African bloc, they've just signed, they'll be using the ECO, which is a currency they'll use in that region. We are not far from that as a region here. It's coming. And we'll go probably at some point to a single currency as the world. When that day comes, will there be need for bureau de change? To change what? When the world will be on a single currency. So you must be thinking in those lines to say, this will come at some point. How will I innovate and how will I be relevant to my community? What will I do? What will I be doing? So I'm always constantly tuned into that, and what I can do today to be of service to my community, I'll do. And as we go there, I know this is where the world is going. I should have prepared myself for that day.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul, for your insight and knowledge and perspective. Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here this evening, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's have another round of applause for I know that as a co-founder, CEO of this organization, I'm a comedian, and I can't resist. You know, the golden coin adverts, does anyone remember the golden coin adverts that we did? Wakaunda Bamdala, where can I change runs? I think I'm very, very so touched as an entrepreneur myself. The testimony of this young man. The leadership coaching, Chichi, it's been excellent, it's been brilliant. The journey of an entrepreneur is not an easy one. Is it an easy one? If we're in church right now, we'll be like, and the entrepreneur has to suffer. He has to know what it is. He has to have a vision. I think that my cafe take is that get the right partner if you're an entrepreneur. If you have the wrong one, you're in trouble. If your husband or wife do not share your vision, you're in trouble, because the rent doesn't care about visions. It's about cash. Are you paying? There's nothing like, oh no, in 8 years or 20 years, you know, I mean, nothing. The landlord is like, anyway, share rent situation. Now, but you've heard, isn't it? This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to create this realness, because we're living in the real world. And if there's any people who are real, it's entrepreneurs. Isn't it? It doesn't mean that if you're an entrepreneur, all of a sudden then you can get PYKs, Benzo, like one packed outside. Doesn't just happen. It's about sacrifice. You know, you can tell, okay, how can you tell when an entrepreneur is broke or when they've got money? How can you tell? It's from the way the entrepreneur works. When the entrepreneur has got money, he works like this. Even the way he opens the car. You know, these days we always take these points at the thing. You know, there's no more chop these days. It's just silent. Just see the lights. Wow. That's a successful entrepreneur. What about the broke entrepreneur struggling? It's rough. You know what, entrepreneur, you can't even get talk time, eh? No bundles, nothing. A client is calling you. A client wants a quotation, but you can't even send. That's what entrepreneur, the broke entrepreneur. And there's a difference, you know, between the broke entrepreneur and the guy who's actually doing it. The broke entrepreneur cannot even laugh. Do you know that the energy for laughing, I didn't realize until when I was a broke entrepreneur. And understand, it comes from here. Now when there's no money, nothing. So it just said, but ask Paul to laugh right now. You hear the, because the chemical reaction starts here, building here, chemical reaction, the throat. But the blood. So I think if we take the steps to become entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs, not engaging in unnecessary to my expenses. That's such a real life, except you make it, isn't it? Dr. Kaunda, I was with Dr. Kenneth Kaunda today, even Paul. Went with Dr. Kaunda.
Indeed.
What did he tell us?
Yes.
Young man, if you want to make it today, keep your expenses low, and your profits high. Now got the invoice 5,000 kwacha, but you want to go to Chicago's and spend 85,000 kwacha. Stupid idiot. And then I asked Dr. Frederick Chiluba, I said, Dr. Chiluba, how can I be a successful entrepreneur? Well, all I can say is that surely, from the time we liberalize the economy, it is about making sure that your expenses are low, your vision is clear to investors, because no one is going to give you $1 when your vision is muddled. Come on, guys. Even Navy Bwanawasa, what can you tell us if an investor want to invest in your law firm? Entrepreneurs, to avoid living a lifestyle beyond their incomes. And those who are stealing, who arrest them. Warupia Banda, how are you going to encourage the entrepreneurs? I'm extremely excited. I'm telling you that as an entrepreneur myself, I started a long time ago. Then nukuja nikudiyai wegula fwaka yai mambala wakandu ya kunyokola njala. And President Michael Sata, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs? You see, before I can even give advice, I want Donald Trump to give us advice. What I want to say, folks, in Zambia, I mean, it's kind of tricky, but you gotta do it. In Zambia, folks, you want to be an entrepreneur, you gotta be, I don't know. I mean, I think Hillary Clinton told you you can do it, but you can do it, folks. Iraq is here, in Zambia. I think you got the wrong place. Hey! Ladies and gentlemen, we have former South African President Nelson Mandela also left us with an archived message. I would like to advise all our entrepreneurs in Africa, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you must get an idea which is going to earn you money, more money than the one that you want to chill with your friends in Chicago, bringing Excel. But what do you mean by that? The problem is, people think when you're an entrepreneur, you've got access to limitless cash. That is going to be a downfall. You must watch your expenses. Super Ken, I've got these youngsters say, take it easy, relax, say. President Xi Jinping from China also sent us a WhatsApp message about entrepreneurship. It's in Chinese. How many of us have learned Chinese though? Entrepreneurship, Paul Kalumba, Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurship is a long-term activity. Follow Paul Kalumba. Even the leadership coaching of Chichin Wamba. Cheshire. Thank you very much for coming. We've got Jean from Paris. What we can say is Zambian is a great entrepreneur. If you look at any place you go to park your vehicle, even the guard is an entrepreneur. You are paying 10 kwacha, 20 kwacha. That is entrepreneurship. Thank you very much. Thank you. And we've got Vuzi Zolani from Joburg. When Zokutshela mfethu, if you want to be a real entrepreneur, when it's got nothing to do with violence. When you must listen to the advice, ne? What Kalumba said. We see when golden coin. If I had an opportunity to go into one of the bureaus when Zogushara when $5,000. Which is Mumba fat. When she's coming from a serious background. If you want to listen to this age, she's the best one, man. This is great. Excellent. We've got a representative from Russia, representing the President Vladimir Putin, to tell us about entrepreneurship. In Russia, we have very many entrepreneurs. But the thing is, Americans are confusing the Zambians. And they do not think that the Russians can actually produce entrepreneurship. But listen to me. We are wanting to tell you what Paul Kalumba is doing today. And Chichi Mulumba, we come together and build this big thing. Yeah. The Zambian government does not We've got a representative from the British guy. I'll tell you what, yeah. This has never been done before. I'll tell you. You got a CEO coming with a leadership queen, all right, coming together and teaching you what it's gonna be, all right. So what we're gonna do, right? Yeah, is come together and put us right. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. You don't have to worry about it. We'll sort it out. Right? If you're an entrepreneur, you need cash, speak to Kalumba, mate. He's got $5,000 right here. He's gonna sort you out. Do you think we can get I'll tell you, Kalumba, do you want me right here? That's what it's all about. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. And please know that this is a monthly activity. We want entrepreneurs to listen to the stories. Like, for example, you've heard from what Mr. Kalumba's told us. The host is here every month. If you know what Africa Leadership Legacy is all about, please make sure, go onto the website, register. Africa Leadership Legacy is what it's all about. We want to build leaders in the entrepreneurship world. We want to create real jobs. We want to really contribute to the economy by creating jobs, by being entrepreneurs. So if you're an entrepreneur, or if you know an entrepreneur, or people who want to be entrepreneurs, let them come every month. We will have CEOs. This has been our guest CEO. Give me a big hand. We thank you, Paul, for joining us today. This is an amazing journey that we've started, and it's going to be here every month. Tell all your peers, all your fellow entrepreneurs to come and listen and share, because also it's not a one-way street. It's not one-way traffic. It's about all of us together. All together now, isn't it? Yeah. That's what it's all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, let me just thank you so much for coming. If you have anything, and it's an open mic, so now we are open. We can even bring anyone else who wants to come and say something about entrepreneurship. Please come and join us. I'm sorry, you know, CEO is a comedian. You know how it is. Right? I can't help it. Comedian acting another time. But this is it. Thank you very much. And please, let's be in touch. We've got your details. We'll send you emails. If you have any question, any query, please feel free. This is the Business Lounge. You want to work, you want to Secretarial Services, Wi-Fi, this is the place. It is for you. Are you an innovator? Do you have a unique idea that can make you $1 billion? Huh? We all stop thinking about $1 million. Million is over. B is the new word, $1 billion. And it can happen. Don't restrict yourself. Don't listen to those who say it can't happen. You can do it. You can. And Barack Obama said that, yes, we can. And Paul Kalumba started in 2005. Now he's got $20. One year is there. So please, guys, thank you very much. Peace. Sharp, sharp.